She came back from Austin around 8:30 on a Sunday night, stepping out of the rideshare in front of our house with that tired but smiling look she always wore after work trips. Only this wasn't work. It was just a girls' weekend, she had said. Some kind of reunion with old college friends. No spouses, no partners. Just the girls, she'd repeated with a kiss on the cheek and a wave from the car 2 days earlier. I opened the front door before she could knock. She lit up like she always did, all high-pitched enthusiasm and wide arms. She hugged me, but her body felt slightly rigid. Her bag bumped into my leg, and when I reached down to help her with it, I noticed it. Right there on her dress, near the collarbone. A pale, faded blotch, like a spill that had been hastily dabbed at with water and soap. "What's this?" I asked, my thumb grazing the spot. She leaned back, looked down, and gave a quick laugh. "Oh, coffee accident. One of the girls was doing some ridiculous game. We were laughing so hard she spilled her drink all over me. I didn't have anything else to change into." Her answer came too quickly, like it was sitting on the tip of her tongue the whole way home. "Must have been fun," I said, trying to keep my voice neutral. "Oh, it was. You should have seen Monica trying to explain Swiss Family Robinson with only gestures. Honestly, I haven't laughed that hard in forever." She grabbed her suitcase and wheeled it in as she talked, like everything was completely normal. I watched her disappear into the bedroom, her laughter echoing down the hallway. For a moment, I just stood there by the door. Something didn't sit right. It was small, but it was enough. That stain wasn't coffee-colored, it was closer to beige. Something lighter. Makeup, maybe? Lotion? I didn't know. I only knew it didn't look like coffee. Later, after she'd showered and slipped into her robe, I went to unpack her things. I told myself I was just helping, like I always did. She never minded before. We had a system. She unpacked her toiletries, I did the clothes. But when I unzipped her suitcase, I paused. There it was, tucked between her rolled jeans and a zippered pouch. An oversized gray t-shirt with bold white letters, Bliss. No logo, no university name. Just that, Bliss. I picked it up. The fabric was soft, well-worn. Definitely not hers. Smelled faintly of cologne. Cheap, synthetic, musky. Not the high-end vanilla and citrus scent she used, but something abrasive. And definitely male. She walked into the room just as I was holding it up. "Oh, you found Ryan's shirt," she said, laughing again. "He spilled water on me during a party game. His girlfriend gave me that to change into. I forgot to give it back." I stared at her. "Ryan?" "Yeah, Ryan Bliss. He's a friend of Monica's. We were at her place the first night." She walked over and took the shirt from my hands, folded it neatly, and set it on the bed like it was no big deal. "Did you meet his girlfriend?" I asked casually. She paused, just for a second, then nodded. "Briefly. She left early. I didn't really talk to her. I gave her a small smile and nodded, but inside, my brain had already gone into overdrive. I didn't remember her mentioning Orion when she was packing. And something about the way she said his girlfriend rubbed me the wrong way. Like she had to add it in. Like it was part of the script. Later that night, as we lay in bed, she curled up beside me the way she always did, but I couldn't relax. I couldn't get the smell of that shirt out of my nose. The scent of cologne lingered, not just on the fabric, but on her skin too. Not overwhelmingly, just enough to notice when she brushed against me. "You smell different," I said softly, trying to keep it light. She let out a breathy laugh. "Still the same shampoo. Maybe that awful cologne from Ryan rubbed off on me." "You were close enough for it to rub off?" "It was a crowded room," she said, turning away to flick off the bedside lamp. "Come on, let's sleep. I'm exhausted." I stared at the ceiling for what felt like an hour. Something was wrong. It wasn't the shirt or the stain or even the smell, it was the ease. The way she dismissed everything like it was rehearsed. The next morning, I poured her coffee while she got ready for work. She walked into the kitchen wearing a soft pink blouse I hadn't seen before. "New?" I asked, motioning to it. She blinked. "Oh yeah, I picked it up during a layover." "You had a layover?" "Yeah, in Dallas. Quick one." She smiled, took the coffee, and leaned in to kiss my cheek. Her lips were warm. Her tone was cheerful, but her eyes didn't meet mine. When she left, I sat alone at the kitchen table, staring at the empty doorway. There had been a shift, something subtle, a fracture. I didn't say anything then, not because I was afraid of the truth, but because I knew she wouldn't tell it. Not yet. And maybe, just maybe, I wasn't ready to hear it. After that weekend, something between us started to shift quietly at first, like the hairline crack in a windshield that slowly branches out until the whole thing threatens to shatter. I didn't confront her. Not directly. But the unease that had taken root the night she got back from Austin began growing inside me, creeping into everything. I watched. I listened. I remembered. Her phone, which used to be left on the counter or nightstand like an afterthought, was now glued to her hand. At first I thought maybe it was just habit, something about group chats or work messages. But she started taking it everywhere. To the bathroom. Into the closet when she changed. She even placed it face down when we ate, which wouldn't have meant anything if she hadn't also started flipping it over to check every buzz with this tiny flinch. Like each notification carried a risk. I told myself I was being paranoid. I really tried. But then came the late nights. 2 weeks after Austin, she had a last-minute team dinner across town. I offered to drive her, but she insisted on taking her own car. I might stay late, she said, brushing on lipstick in the mirror, new shade, darker than usual. She wore a dress I hadn't seen in a long time, something form-fitting, deep berg asterisk and Y, definitely more cocktail than corporate. I asked if it wasn't too dressy. She laughed. You know how these work events are. Half the people show up looking like they're going to a gala. I nodded. She left. She came home just after 1 a.m. No leftovers. No to-go cup. No scent of wine or food on her breath. But there it was again, faint beneath her perfume. That same synthetic cologne I'd smelled on the t-shirt in her suitcase. I didn't ask questions. Not yet. But I started paying attention in ways I never had before. Her stories didn't line up anymore. On Monday, she'd say she was meeting a client in Round Rock. By Wednesday, the same trip had been to San Marcos. She'd confused which hotel she stayed at, then changed the name mid-conversation. She was always so tired. Always just behind on sleep. And somehow there was always a new business trip around the corner, Dallas, Denver, then Atlanta. Always vague about the agenda. Just back-to-back meetings, she'd say, brushing her hair or scrolling through her phone. But what caught my attention wasn't just the frequency of these trips, it was her attitude. She wasn't stressed. If anything, she seemed energized. Lighter. Like the weight of something had lifted off her. She started wearing new lingerie, still with tags, tucked into drawers she used to leave untouched. Once I opened a drawer looking for socks and saw a lacy black set she would have once laughed at for being too extra. She smiled more often now. But not at me. Her eyes, once quick to meet mine, now skimmed over me like I was furniture. The silence between us thickened. One night, I tried to bring it up. Hey, are we okay? I asked, keeping my tone casual as we sat side by side on the couch. She was flipping through her phone, scrolling something with practiced indifference. She glanced over. Of course we are. Why? I don't know. You've just been distracted. She leaned over, kissed me on the cheek, and said, I've just been busy, babe. Don't overthink it. But I couldn't help it. Overthinking was all I seemed capable of anymore. The worst part was how normal everything appeared on the surface. We still ate dinner together. We still did laundry, watched shows, paid bills. She'd ask how my day was. She'd laugh at something on her phone and show me a meme. But there was something hollow behind it all, like she was acting in a play called Loving Wife, and the script was growing tired. One evening, I walked into our bedroom to find her sitting cross-legged on the bed, phone in hand, eyes flicking rapidly. When she saw me, she smiled and quickly locked the screen. What are you reading? I asked. Oh, just work stuff, she said, standing to grab her charger. On your personal phone? She didn't flinch. My work phone died. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But that same night, I checked the call logs on our shared phone plan. She had started deleting entire call histories. Not 1 or 2 entries, entire days gone. The records were still on the provider's website. Lots of incoming and outgoing calls to the same out-of-state number. None of them saved as a contact. My chest tightened as I stared at the screen, seeing timestamps that matched the nights she said she was working late or grabbing drinks with the girls. Always the same number. Always late. I didn't bring it up. Instead, I copied it down and saved it on my own phone under a blank contact. That week, I noticed her change her passcode. It used to be our anniversary. Now it was different. I watched her type it once in the car mirror when she thought I wasn't looking, some combination of SIXS and threes. I didn't try to unlock it. I just sat there, holding the steering wheel tighter than I needed to. The final straw wasn't even that dramatic. It was a Tuesday night. She was packing again, this time for a training seminar in Charlotte. She moved through the bedroom efficiently, folding blouses, curling cords, setting aside makeup. I watched her tuck a small envelope into her purse. "What's that?" I asked. She froze for half a second. "Just some receipts I need to submit for reimbursement." She smiled. Too smoothly. Again. I nodded. She zipped up the bag and turned to me. "You're being quiet," she said, brushing her hand against my arm. "Just tired." "Well, I'll be back Thursday. Maybe we can go out. Try that sushi place you like." She kissed me then. Softly. Quickly. And walked out the door. That kiss stayed on my lips for hours, not because it meant anything, but because I realized I didn't feel it anymore. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, the silence pressing down on me. I didn't want to be the guy who snooped through his wife's things. I didn't want to be suspicious. But I couldn't ignore it anymore. The shirt. The cologne. The new lingerie. The deleted call logs. The stories that never lined up. All of it pointed to something I already knew but hadn't allowed myself to accept. Whatever we had, whatever I thought we had, was slipping away. Not with a scream or a fight, but with quiet omissions and too smooth answers. The version of Brianna I once knew was vanishing, one white lie at a time. And in her place, a stranger was living in her home. Sleeping in our bed. Holding my hand like she didn't know I could feel how far away she really was. I think deep down I was hoping I was wrong. I wanted all the signs to be a series of coincidences. Stress. New job demands. Bad timing. Anything but what my gut kept screaming louder with each passing week. But then I made the mistake, the kind of mistake that doesn't just confirm the truth but slaps you across the face with it. It started with flowers. Brianna was scheduled to attend a regional corporate event in Dallas. A big deal mixer for client reps and account managers. It was the kind of thing spouses rarely attended, which suited me just fine at the time. I didn't have the stomach for forced small talk or pretending things were okay. Still, I wanted to do something that reminded her of us, something simple. So I decided to send flowers to the venue. I didn't go through a big floral service. I used a local vendor, someone we'd ordered from before, a friend of a mutual contact actually. I called her up, explained what I wanted, and she promised they'd be delivered by 6:30 p.m. just before the cocktail hour kicked off. I told Brianna nothing about it. I wanted to surprise her. Part of me hoped the gesture would jolt something inside her. Maybe it'd crack through whatever wall she was building between us. But instead of a thank you call or even a text, I got a message from the delivery driver. "Hey Chris, just a heads up. The couple inside the conference suite asked not to be disturbed when I got there." Weird vibe. The woman matched your description, dark hair, blue dress, but they were pretty adamant. Didn't even open the door. Left the flowers at the desk. The couple. I froze, reading the message again. I texted back, asking for clarification. They were in one of those private conference rooms, like a boardroom turned lounge. Glass walls, curtains mostly closed. Saw the back of her head, but I remember you saying she had that streak in her hair. The guy had tattoos on his forearm. Kind of tall. They didn't look like they were working. Tattoos. That was it. My hands went cold. I didn't know why the word hit so hard until I remembered something stupid, something small. About 2 weeks earlier, I had been on the tablet we both occasionally used to stream movies. It was synced to her phone, mostly for music. But sometimes photos or *TS would back up automatically. I rarely checked it, but that day I had gone to play a podcast and noticed a new image in the photo album labeled Recent. It was a selfie. Not posted anywhere, not captioned. Just a raw image of Brianna in what looked like a hotel bathroom, wrapped in a white robe. Her hair was still damp, her face relaxed, playful. She looked good, too good. Like she had taken it for someone else. In the mirror behind her, barely visible, was the edge of a king-size bed. And resting on it casually was a man's arm. Tattooed. At the time, I had stared at that image for 20 straight minutes, trying to rationalize it. Was it old? A friend? Did someone crash her room? I closed the album. Told myself it was nothing. Told myself I was making things up. But now, with the flower delivery and the couple behind the curtain, I couldn't unsee it. My mind went straight back to that photo. Same arm. Same man. Same hotels she always stayed in on business. I didn't sleep that night. I pulled out the tablet again. Reopened the image. Zoomed in on the details I had tried to ignore, the faint reflection of another person in the mirror. A shadow of movement, a shape too large to be a purse or towel. His arm was resting on the bed like it belonged there. Like he belonged there. And Brianna? She was smiling. I closed the tablet and sat in the dark. My jaw ached from how hard I was clenching it. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I had wanted proof, hadn't I? This was it. No ambiguity. No innocent explanation. This wasn't emotional distance. It wasn't burnout or stress or even a bad phase. This was betrayal, flesh and blood, hotel room, arm on the bed betrayal. I kept playing that sentence from the driver over and over again. They didn't look like they were working. No, they weren't. The next morning I didn't mention the flowers. I waited. I wanted to see what she'd say. She came home mid-afternoon, still wearing that professional smile, still glowing from whatever high she'd been running on. Trip go well? I asked. She nodded. Busy, but productive. Long hours, though. Did you get the flowers? Her eyes flickered. Just for a second. What flowers? I tilted my head slightly. I sent some to your event. The front desk said they delivered them. A pause. She looked down into her tote bag, then back at me. Oh, those. I think I left them at the hotel. I was rushing this morning. She smiled like she was proud of remembering the lie in time. That's when I knew she was gone. Not physically, she was still here, unpacking, sipping water, making plans for dinner. But whatever version of her had once belonged to me had walked out that hotel door a long time ago and never looked back. I nodded slowly, keeping my face still. Got it. She didn't notice the way my voice had gone flat. She didn't notice much of anything. That night, I made a copy of that selfie from the tablet and sent it to my own phone. I started a new folder. Titled it something simple, something dry. Evidence. After that night, something in me switched off. The part of me that wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt. The part that second-guessed my gut. The part that wanted to be wrong. All of it gone. What was left was cold, calculated, and unnervingly clear. If she wanted to lie, to perform, to pretend we were still a team, fine. I'd play along. But now I was watching. Now I was collecting. I started with **TS, everything I could grab from the synced tablet before she figured it out. Her call logs. Photos. Flight itineraries that didn't match her supposed business trips. I saved them all to an external drive, labeled with boring names like tax receipts and travel expenses. I created backups in cloud storage, secured under a two-factor authentication she couldn't access. But I knew **TS wouldn't be enough. I needed more. So I hired a private investigator. His name was Alan. He was ex-military, mid-50s, and looked like the kind of guy who wouldn't flinch if you handed him a folder full of infidelity. When I met him at a quiet cafe outside town, he listened without interrupting. I handed him the details, dates, cities, hotel names, the mysterious Ryan Bliss. His brow raised slightly at the name. Bliss? Yeah. Found a shirt in her suitcase after Austin. Had that name across the back. When I asked, she said it belonged to a guy named Ryan. Claimed he had a girlfriend. Alan jotted it all down in a small leather notebook. I'll start with him. You want visual proof or just confirmation? I want everything, I said. Photos. Video. Hotel logs if you can get them. I want to be sure. He nodded once. Give me 3 days. 3 days turned into 6. I didn't tell Brianna about the PI. I kept the mask on, made coffee, asked about her day, even laughed when appropriate. She played her role, too. She was animated, affectionate. She made breakfast one morning, something she hadn't done in years. She started initiating hugs again. But her eyes? Still distant. Still flickering to her phone every time it buzzed. Then the report came in. Alan called me from a blocked number. You free? I met him the next morning. He slid a manila envelope across the table, his expression unreadable. Your instincts were right, he said. It's not a one-time thing. It's been happening for months. I didn't open the envelope right away. I stared at it, willing myself to breathe. Same guy every time? Yeah. Ryan Bliss. Lives in Chicago but does consulting and seminars in different cities. Your wife's company is one of his clients. I tracked her travel, it lines up almost exactly with his. Same hotels. Same cities. Often booked under a shared reservation. I clenched my jaw. You're sure? Alan nodded. Got video of them entering hotels together. Photos of them arriving at the same airport within minutes. Receipts for dinners, drinks, even a couple spa booking in Atlanta. I opened the folder. Inside were high-resolution photos, clear, undeniable. There was Brianna smiling beside a man with tattooed arms and sandy hair. There was her suitcase rolling behind her, the same one I'd helped her pack. There were date-stamped stills of them walking into a hotel, her hand brushing his back as he opened the door. There was lobby footage of them laughing in front of the elevator. I felt my face flush hot, then cold. I flipped through each page slowly, like peeling back layers of a wound. There were no explanations left. No room for denial. This wasn't a slip. This wasn't an affair born of confusion or loneliness. This was a second life. She'd built it right under my nose. I also pulled records from his seminar company, Alan said. She's attended nearly every event he's hosted in the past 8 months. Some were legit conferences. Others? Private workshops. Booked at boutique hotels. Same booking site. Same guest lists. I closed the folder. You're good. He shrugged. Just thorough. I paid him in cash. More than he asked for. He nodded once, slid the envelope back into my bag, and left without another word. That night, I copied the files to a new flash drive. I created an index, organized everything by date, location, and detail. It was obsessive. Surgical. But I needed it that way. I wasn't just preparing for a fight, I was building an archive. If she wanted to contest anything, money, property, character, I'd have enough proof to end the conversation before it started. And strangely, I didn't feel rage. Not then. What I felt was precision. The same feeling I used to get when balancing budgets at work, when every column aligned, when every decimal point clicked into place. Cold clarity. A brutal kind of relief. Brianna came home that night buzzing with stories about a new regional manager. She made dinner, pasta with a side of sarcasm, and asked me if I wanted to plan a weekend away soon. I smiled. Sure. Let's talk about it tomorrow. She kissed me on the cheek. You're the best. I watched her walk away. And I thought, not for much longer. I waited for the right moment. Not out of revenge, not exactly. It wasn't about creating a scene or seeing her break down. It was about timing. About pulling the thread with such precision that the whole fabric unraveled in front of her eyes and in front of the very people she worked so hard to fool. The opportunity came faster than I expected. Brianna's company was throwing an anniversary party, a full-blown evening gala at an upscale rooftop venue downtown. String lights, a jazz trio, glass walls framing the city skyline. She had been talking about it for weeks, obsessing over dresses and nail appointments and who'd be there. It was, by her own words, a can't-miss event. So I didn't miss it. She invited me, of course. Not enthusiastically. More like it was expected. Like a box she had to check. Spouses are welcome, she'd said, already moving on to talk about caterers. I nodded, said I'd join. She didn't ask what I'd be wearing or seem particularly interested in coordinating. The night of the party, she looked stunning. I won't lie. Her black dress was tailored, sleek, sharp at the shoulders and soft at the waist. She curled her hair, added just enough makeup to turn heads, and wore a pair of earrings I'd bought her 3 anniversaries ago. She barely looked at me as we drove there, her eyes on her phone, her fingers tapping out some last-minute message. Probably him. Ryan. I'd long since stopped calling him the other guy in my head. He had a name. A pattern. A calendar trail that lined up like clockwork with hers. According to the PI, they had another trip lined up next week, Atlanta. A full 4-day stretch booked under a shared reservation at the Langford. 2 guests. 1 room. Non-refundable. That reservation was in my pocket. Printed. Folded. Tucked into a simple white envelope. The venue was even more beautiful than she had described. Low lighting, shimmering gold accents, a curated mix of jazz and electronic beats echoing off the marble floors. The kind of party where everyone sips instead of drinks, smiles instead of laughs. Where image is everything. I played along. We mingled. She introduced me to people I barely remembered. Colleagues with practiced handshakes and inside jokes that didn't include me. I smiled. Nodded. Made small talk while sipping a bourbon that burned more than usual. Then, just after she slipped into a huddle with her team near the open bar, I gave a signal to the waiter. He was in on it. A friend of a friend. I had handed him the envelope earlier that evening with a crisp 100 tucked inside. All I needed was 1 clean delivery. No drama. No delay. He nodded and moved. I watched from across the room as he approached her with a tray. On it, a cocktail, hers exactly how she liked it. Gin, cucumber, light tonic. And beside it, the envelope. She smiled as he handed it over. Her fingers grazed the envelope as she picked up the drink. She didn't open it right away, she was still mid-conversation, laughing, holding court. But then curiosity got the better of her. I saw the moment she peeled the flap, unfolded the sheet, and began to read. Her expression shifted in less than a second. From amusement to confusion. From confusion to panic. Her lips moved silently as she read the names, hers and Ryan's, followed by the check-in date, the room confirmation, the booking details. She blinked rapidly, then read it again. She turned the page over as if hoping there'd be something, anything, to help her explain it away. There wasn't. I could see her mouth moving, little no whispers. Her fingers clenched the paper and her eyes darted across the room until they landed on me. We locked eyes. And in that split second, everything she had hidden, all the lies, the dodges, the half-truths, collapsed. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just collapsed. She didn't cry. She didn't run. She set the drink down, folded the note in half, and walked out of the circle of colleagues without a word. Past the bar. Past the waiter. Past the fake laughter and the clinking glasses. She walked out of the party in silence. And everyone saw it. Not everyone understood what they were seeing, but enough did. Her coworkers glanced at one another, puzzled. A few followed her with their eyes, then slowly turned to me. I didn't flinch. I didn't move. I just finished my drink, set the glass down, and gave the smallest nod of acknowledgement. Then I, too, turned and left. The air outside was cooler than I'd expected. The kind of night that carried the first whisper of fall. I stood at the edge of the parking structure, looking out at the skyline, letting the silence settle. There was no satisfaction. No surge of victory. Just clarity. She had made her choice long ago, in hotel rooms and on late-night calls and in messages deleted before they could be traced. All I did was return the favor, show her, in one folded note, that I had stopped pretending to. When I got home, she wasn't there. Her car was still out. Maybe circling. Maybe parked somewhere. Maybe just sitting in the dark, trying to rewrite the story in her head. I didn't care. I poured myself another drink, sat on the couch, and stared at the spot on the wall where our wedding photo used to hang. I'd taken it down the day after I received the PI's report. I hadn't told her. She hadn't noticed. Some things just go missing. Some things you remove in silence. I thought of the Atlanta trip. She was still scheduled to leave on Wednesday. Would she cancel it now? Would Ryan? Or would they go, pretending it wasn't a turning point, pretending the note had been a scare and not a sentence? It didn't matter. I already had what I needed. The next morning, Brianna still hadn't come home. I didn't text her. Didn't call. I didn't need to hear any explanations, half-truths, or the inevitable "it's not what it looks like." We'd already passed the point of no return and both of us knew it. She'd seen the reservation with her name on it, black ink, white paper. The kind of truth that doesn't stutter or soften. So I made my next move. I compiled everything. The photos from the private investigator. Screenshot *TS from the synced tablet. Emails and calendar invites. The selfie in the hotel robe. The call logs. The Atlanta reservation. I loaded it all onto a flash drive, labeled innocuously as Q4 reports, and slipped it into a folder on her laptop. A folder she often used when preparing presentations. I didn't leave a note. Didn't announce it. I just tucked it there and walked away. That evening, I heard the front door open. Her heels clicked across the floor, then stopped. A pause. She was scanning the room, probably trying to guess my mood, if I'd cooled down, if there was still room for damage control. She didn't speak. Instead, she went straight to the dining table where her laptop sat. I waited in the hallway listening. A click. A hum. Then nothing. Silence. Minutes passed. I imagined the files opening. The images popping up. Her face slowly draining of color as she realized what she was looking at. Every lie, every city, every hotel room laid out like a ledger. Then the sound of the laptop closing. No slamming. No tears. Just the soft click of truth. I stepped out fully expecting some kind of confrontation. But she walked right past me without a word. No defense. No anger. No apology. Just silence. The divorce was filed within the week. She didn't fight it. Didn't contest a single point. The evidence was too strong, too organized, too damning to argue against. Her lawyer barely spoke during the preliminary meetings. It was over before it really began. Her company, of course, got wind of it. Quiet whispers turned into internal inquiries. She was restructured within a month off the client-facing team, phased out gradually until she vanished from the website altogether. No statement. No goodbye post. Just gone. Meanwhile, I moved on. Not fast. Not recklessly. But with intention. I rented an apartment across town, nothing fancy, but mine. I picked up running again, something I hadn't done in years. Early mornings, long routes, a playlist full of songs I used to love before everything got complicated. I called old friends. Said yes to invitations I would have declined before. Let the silence turn into space instead of shame. 2 months later, I met Tori at a community outreach event, of all places, handing out supplies at a food bank. She was volunteering through her office, and I'd shown up just looking for something to do besides count memories. We talked easily. No pressure. No masks. She didn't ask about my past right away, and I didn't offer it. We were just two people stacking boxes and laughing at how bad we were at folding donation letters. And when I finally did tell her, she didn't flinch. "Pain doesn't scare me," she said simply. "People who lie do." And I knew I was okay. Not healed, not perfect, but free. What Brianna did, what she and Ryan chose to become, didn't define me anymore. I didn't carry it like a weight. I carried it like a lesson. One I never asked for but learned anyway. I wasn't broken. I was just finally awake.